We had a great show with Matt talking about middle age, and it aligns so perfectly with the deep dive I did earlier this year after Dan Duane's show. So it's our first ever throwback deep dive. We're going to post it here again. Please have a listen or a re listen to this dive. It's just so relevant to Matt's show and a good refresher. So enjoy. In our show with Dan, he talked about going back to school later in life and finding fulfillment and meaning in becoming a therapist. And I think of being middle aged, which I am. And this is generally what we would call 40s, 50s. And it's such a weird, interesting phase of life. We all know the cliche of the midlife crisis. We panic about getting older and sometimes do ridiculous things to try to grasp onto youth or vitality, especially in cultures that favor youth or set strict standards around looking youthful. But there are also genuine positives to this point in life. I think where I'm headed with this is that, well, some may fear aging or mortality. Midlife is actually a natural point to consider what's meaningful to us before we go. So I guess happy Friday. Let's talk about death. But no, I'm actually reading this book about end of life doulas or death doulas. So I've been contemplative about this topic lately anyway. But Dan's episode really reinforced this idea of trying to figure out what a life well lived is. If you're familiar at all with Erikson's stages of development, middle age is called the generativity versus stagnation stage, which is basically a quest to contribute to the world and have a purpose. And so, for those of you who aren't sure yet about these things or what's meaningful, or you find yourself searching for something else later in life and you want to pivot, I want to share an exercise that you can do. Because we always talk in platitudes about on your deathbed, XYZ, but we rarely intentionally do preventative work around this. So, on a day when you can set aside some mental energy to be present and reflective, that's a tall order, I know. Lie in your bed and clasp your hands over your stomach and try to sincerely imagine this as your deathbed. The idea that you'll be dying soon, but you still have a little time to reflect in this scenario. So here are some important questions. What did you love about your life? Who did you love? What pleasures did you get to enjoy? What did you do that you felt was meaningful? What do you regret? What are the unsaid words you wish you could say, and to whom? What things were you too hard on yourself about? And maybe where did you shirk accountability where you shouldn't have? What lies did your brain tell you? Did you live your truth? I mean, I got like 20 more of these questions. I could keep going, but I guess the point of this deep dive is to encourage you to start as early as you can in figuring out what life means to you so that you can more intentionally live a life that will honor what this deathbed you hopes for when you answer these questions. Obviously, no one is guaranteed a long life, but getting to middle age makes you realize that you have lived a long time and that the time you have left isn't completely out of your control. So, what kind of life and what kind of relationships will you look back on and feel fulfilled? Like you lived your life with intention and presence. To me, there is no greater gift than peace. Peace with others, peace in the world, peace of mind. And you may be able to adjust your life right now to move closer to peace in some aspect of your life. As I've said before on other shows, if you get an opportunity to heal, take it. Like repairing relationships, walking away from unhealthy ones. You have some agency to, how do I want to put this? To basically prevent deathbed regrets. Hustle culture and survival mode, I know they don't give us the breathing room to plan ahead, but we do kind of know the steps in the right direction, right? Being active in your community, nurturing healthy relationships, lifelong learning, taking care of your mental health, volunteering. So if we go back to Erikson's stages, the final stage is integrity versus despair, which is basically the difference between embracing/accepting your life story or tilting more towards disappointment and regret. And the way you can figure out what side of that coin you've landed on is to look back on your life. So every day of your life is a chance to set yourself up for a life well lived. Not a perfect life, with no mistakes, but a life that was authentically yours and that gave you meaning. What can you do each day to honor that outcome when the time comes? That's what I want you to think about. All right, that's it for this deep dive. Email us at the unrelatingpodcast@gmail.com because we want you to come on and be a guest. We want to talk to you and hit us up on our socials.